The journey of Obinna from ashes to glory. Obinna lived in a small, quiet village nestled between rolling hills and dense forests. The village was serene but offered little opportunity for the ambitious and hardworking. Life for Obinna revolved around farming, a trade he had inherited from his late father. Every morning, before dawn, he would rise to the crowing of the village roosters, grab his rusty hoe, and head to their small plot of farmland with his mother. Together, they cultivated yams, cassava, and maize, eking out a modest living. Their home was a simple thatched roof hut with cracked mud walls, surrounded by a small garden of plantain trees and herbs. Despite their struggles, Obinna's mother instilled in him the values of honesty, resilience, and hard work. When he wasn't working on their farm, Obinna hired himself out to wealthier farmers in the village, helping them with their own fields in exchange for a few naira or some food. Though life was difficult, he was known for his cheerful disposition and his willingness to help others, earning him the respect and admiration of many in the village. One breezy afternoon, while Obinna was returning from the farm with a basket of freshly harvested yams balanced on his head, a sleek black car pulled up near their house. The vehicle was out of place in the village, drawing the attention of curious neighbors. Obinna's mother, wiping her hands on her wrapper, emerged from their home to greet the visitor. From the car stepped Mr. Evans, her brother, and Obinna's uncle, dressed sharply in a tailored suit. His presence exuded wealth and sophistication, a stark contrast to the simplicity of village life. After exchanging pleasantries, Mr. Evans watched Obinna with keen interest as he unloaded the yams. He was impressed by the young man's work ethics and the ease with which he managed heavy tasks. Over a meal of pounded yam and vegetable soup that evening, Mr. Evans shared stories of his thriving trading business in Lagos. He expressed his desire to give Obinna a chance at a better life. "You are wasting your potentials here," he said. "Come with me to Lagos. I will teach you the ropes of business, and in 5 years, you will have a shop of your own." Obinna's mother was initially hesitant. Lagos was far away, and she feared for her son's safety. But after such persuasion and promises of a better future, she reluctantly agreed. Obinna, both excited and nervous, saw this as a golden opportunity to break free from poverty and make his mother proud. The next morning, with his few belongings packed in a small bag, he bade a tearful goodbye to his mother and boarded Mr. Evans's car, leaving behind the familiar sights of the village for the bustling unknown of Lagos. Life in Lagos was a whirlwind for Obinna. Mr. Evans owned a thriving trading business, and Obinna quickly proved his mettle. He was not only hardworking, but also meticulous in keeping records, managing inventory, and negotiating deals, and his uncle was very impressed by his outstanding performance. Within a year, Mr. Evans made Obinna his second in charge, a position that irked Chike, Mr. Evans's wife's elder brother. Chike, who lived with them, felt slighted, and his envy festered into bitterness. Unbeknownst to Obinna, Chike hatched a plan to tarnish his reputation. One day, Chike had access to the warehouse keys, and he duplicated it. Using a stolen duplicate key to the warehouse, Chike began siphoning off goods and selling them secretly. When Obinna discovered discrepancies in the inventory, he promptly informed Mr. Evans, unaware that he was walking into a trap. "You and I are the only ones with keys to the warehouse," Mr. Evans said gravely. "If it's not me, then it must be you." Despite Obinna's fervent pleas of innocence, Mr. Evans's wife, influenced by Chike's lies, insisted that Obinna was guilty. Her complaints about Obinna's supposed lavish spending further fueled her husband's doubts. Reluctantly, Mr. Evans handed Obinna over to the police. Obinna's trial was swift and cruel. Without substantial evidence to prove his innocence, he was sentenced to 3 years in prison. The betrayal stung worse than the imprisonment. He had given his all to the family and the business, only to be abandoned and branded a thief. Mama Obinna came all the way from the village to plead innocence on behalf of her son. Surprisingly, Mr. Evans, who was already influenced by his wife, neglected her. Back in the village, the news spread like wildfire. Mama Obinna was inconsolable but resolved to support her son. After 3 years, Obinna returned from prison. He was a shadow of his former self. People continued to mock him. They called him a thief who stole from his uncle to get rich quick, scorned by neighbors and burdened by shame. One day, Mama Obinna found him attempting to end his life. Her cries brought the neighbors running, and they managed to save him just in time. "You are stronger than this, my son," she told him, tears streaming down her face. "Don't let their lies destroy you. Pick up the pieces of your broken life and start all over again. No matter how small, I believe in you, my son." With his mother's encouragement, Obinna returned to the fields, working on people's farms and earning a pittance. He also began hauling refuse with a wheelbarrow to make ends meet. One early morning, Obinna went to the refuse dumping site to dump refuse with his wheelbarrow like he did other days. He was about to go when he saw some used scrapped items dumped at the refuse site. He decided to check if he could find any useful thing. He had searched and found a laptop and other items people disposed of. Just as he was about to go, his right leg kicked a box hidden among the trashes. The box looked new. He decided to check what was inside. When he opened it, he found wads of dollar bills inside. He was shocked. He quickly carried it with the other items he picked and hid the box. He hurried home. Obinna got home and hid the box at one corner of his room where nobody would see it. For days, he wrestled with his conscience, unsure of what to do. Some days after, at the refuse dumping site, Obinna noticed a man looking so affluent, combing through the rubbish as though he was searching for something he was sure of where he kept. He would drive in his jeep to the waste bin site, park his vehicle and comb the rubbish. One day the man, Mr. Chris, approached Obinna and asked if he had seen a box. His description matched the one Obinna had found. Torn between greed and integrity, Obinna chose the latter. He asked him a lot of questions about the amount and some other delicate questions related to the items found in the box to confirm that Mr. Chris was actually the rightful owner of the box. He invited Mr. Chris to his home. He brought the box and returned it to him. Mr. Chris was filled with joy. He could not believe that a poor young man like Obinna could have access to such amount of missing money and still return it to the owner. Overwhelmed by Obinna's honesty, Mr. Chris revealed that the money was meant for an urgent business deal but had been discarded during a robbery attempt. Mama Obinna was surprised that her son brought in such item into their house and never bothered to tell her about it. After a week, Mr. Chris returned to show his gratitude. He gifted Obinna a brand new car and a check of 10 million naira. He also promised to sponsor Obinna's education abroad. Obinna's life took a dramatic turn. With Mr. Chris's support, he traveled abroad, earning a degree in business administration. Years later, he returned home, a wealthy and influential man. He established scholarships for underprivileged children and built a modern school in his village. The villagers and neighbors who had mocked and called him a thief witnessed Obinna's transformation and realized that he was actually innocent. Back in Lagos, Mr. Evans's business suffered immense losses, and Chike's theft was finally exposed. He was locked up in the prison for 5 years, after which his life became miserable. Stricken by guilt, Mr. Evans sought Obinna's forgiveness. By then, Obinna had risen above bitterness. "I forgive you, uncle," he said. "I only hope you've learned to trust those who are loyal to you." Obinna's story became a beacon of hope in the community. From a struggling farmer to a global success, his journey inspired countless others. The young man who once toiled in obscurity was now celebrated as a hero, proving that integrity and perseverance could overcome even the darkest trials. Thank you for watching.